Miller had always felt out of place on Varus, a planet of endless deserts and crystal plains that shimmered under the twin suns. Most people in the galaxy considered humans weak and simple. The alien empires spoke of humans as curious, fragile creatures who had no place in the wider galaxy. But Miller had a quiet certainty that humans were more than they seemed. That certainty had guided him to this moment. He crouched low among the golden sands, his fingers brushing over the surface of a buried object. The artifact was unlike anything he had ever seen. Its edges were smooth, glowing faintly with a color he could not name. The symbols etched into it were strange, yet familiar. Miller felt a pulse of warmth travel from his hand to his chest, as if the artifact was alive and had been waiting for him. He had been searching for years, following scattered clues and half-forgotten legends, and now the truth was within his reach. Miller cleared the sand carefully. The artifact's surface reflected the sunlight, blindingly bright at first, then calming into a soft glow. He traced the lines of the ancient writing with his fingers. Somehow, he could understand them. The words seemed to whisper directly into his mind, telling stories of a time when humans did not merely survive among the stars, but ruled them. Entire civilizations had been built by humans, spread across galaxies that now only remembered ruins. The idea seemed impossible, yet the artifact made it feel undeniable. Suddenly, the air vibrated. The artifact emitted a pulse, faint at first, then stronger. Miller felt the ground hum beneath his feet. He stumbled back, shielding his eyes. A vision appeared, not in his eyes, but in his mind. He saw ships larger than any alien fleet, cities floating among the stars, and humans walking with confidence, shaping the galaxy with their knowledge. The visions passed as quickly as they came, leaving Miller breathless. He realized that this artifact was not just a piece of history. It was a key to humanity's lost power, to a legacy forgotten by the galaxy. He had discovered evidence that humans had once been more than explorers or survivors. They had been creators, leaders, guardians of technology and wisdom that even the most advanced alien civilizations now could not match. Miller sat down on the sand, staring at the glowing artifact. His mind raced. If the galaxy learned the truth about humans, they would no longer be underestimated. Some might fear humanity, others might try to control them, but Miller knew the truth must be protected. It had to be shared carefully. The moment felt heavy, as if the universe itself held its breath. The wind shifted, carrying faint sounds in the distance. Miller looked toward the horizon and saw a small fleet of alien ships descending slowly from the sky. He knew immediately who they were. Scouts from the Raxan Empire, a powerful, star-faring civilization that considered humans insignificant. They had detected the artifact's signal as soon as it pulsed. Miller's heart pounded, but he did not panic. Humans may have seemed fragile, but he had something the aliens did not expect. Ingenuity, courage, and a connection to a past that the galaxy had forgotten. He stood, holding the artifact close. The glow responded to his presence, brighter now, as if encouraging him. Miller's thoughts were clear. He would not hide. He would not surrender. If the aliens wanted to challenge him, they would learn quickly that humans were not as simple as they believed. The legacy of the Ancient Ones still flowed in their veins, and Miller was its first spark. As the alien ships landed, their metal surfaces reflecting the twin suns, Miller felt a sense of calm. He adjusted the artifact in his hands and prepared to meet them. The desert around him seemed alive, responding to the energy from the artifact. For centuries, humans had been overlooked, underestimated, and forgotten. But that would change today. The galaxy would see humanity's power, and it would see that humans had never truly been weak. Miller took a deep breath, feeling the pulse of the artifact synchronize with his heartbeat. Every step he took toward the approaching aliens felt certain and deliberate. The past and future of humanity were converging in this moment. Whatever happened next, the galaxy could no longer pretend that humans were ordinary. Miller's mind was clear, his purpose unshakable. The Raxan scouts stepped out of their ships, their eyes wide with caution and curiosity. They expected a small, fragile human, perhaps clutching a simple device. Instead, they saw Miller standing tall, the artifact glowing in his hands, radiating an energy that made even their advanced sensors tremble. A spark of fear flickered in their eyes. The galaxy had underestimated humans for too long. Miller knew this was only the beginning, and the story of the Ancient Ones was about to awaken once more. Miller watched the Raxan scouts carefully. Their ships were sleek, with sharp angles and dark metal that glimmered in the sunlight. The aliens moved cautiously, stepping slowly toward him. Miller could feel the artifact pulsing in his hands, its energy vibrating through the desert ground. It was as if it was alive, reacting to the presence of the Raxan. One of the scouts stepped forward. Its skin was gray and smooth, with faint blue markings glowing along its arms. Its eyes were large and black, reflecting intelligence and curiosity, but also caution. The scout stopped a few meters away from Miller, raising a thin, pointed hand, in a gesture that seemed both threatening and cautious. Miller spoke calmly, his voice steady. "I am Miller. You see this artifact because it called to me. Humans are not as you think. We were once the builders of the galaxy. We were its architects." The scout tilted its head. It did not respond with words, but Miller could sense a ripple of thought passing through some form of communication. The aliens had advanced mental abilities that allowed them to sense emotions and intentions. Miller focused on the artifact, letting its energy flow into him. He concentrated on his confidence, on the truth he had discovered, and on the history that the galaxy had forgotten. Suddenly, a vision appeared before the aliens. They saw what Miller had seen: great human cities floating in space, massive ships moving like living creatures, and humans walking with power and knowledge beyond imagination. The scouts gasped, a sound like metal scraping against metal, their minds struggling to comprehend what they were witnessing. Miller spoke again. "Humans were the first to travel between galaxies. We created civilizations that lasted thousands of years. We did not conquer through fear, but through knowledge and courage. The galaxy forgot us, but we are still here. The artifact has brought the proof." The energy from the artifact spread outward, forming a faint halo around Miller. The scouts instinctively took a step back. They had never seen a human wield such power. The artifact's energy was not destructive, but it carried authority. It was a warning and a statement at the same time. Humans were not weak, and they could not be ignored. One of the Raxan scouts lifted a device from its belt. Miller recognized it immediately as a scanner, designed to analyze technology and neutralize threats. He could feel the device detecting the artifact, trying to understand its energy. Miller focused, letting the artifact respond. A wave of light expanded outward, creating a barrier that stopped the scanner. Sparks flew along the alien device, forcing it to shut down. The scout froze, staring at Miller with wide eyes. It had never encountered a human capable of controlling energy in this way. Another scout tried to approach from the side, but the artifact's light created a protective circle that blocked it. Miller realized that he had a chance not just to defend himself, but to show the galaxy that humans were different than anyone expected. "Do not underestimate us," Miller said, his voice firm. "You see one human, but you are seeing the power of the Ancient Ones. We are not weak. We are not simple. We were the first builders of the stars, and we will rise again." The scouts communicated among themselves, their glowing markings pulsing rapidly. Miller sensed their fear and respect growing. They had expected a fragile human, incapable of challenging them. Instead, they faced someone who carried the strength of thousands of years of lost knowledge. One scout stepped forward slowly, lowering its hand. It spoke in a language Miller did not know, but the meaning was clear. It was a warning to the other aliens. This human was not ordinary. Miller smiled, slightly. The galaxy had never imagined that humans could awaken in this way. Miller turned his attention back to the artifact. Its light had begun to dim, returning to a calm, steady glow. He knew it was sending signals, reaching out across space, calling to other remnants of human knowledge hidden in the galaxy. If the signal reached other humans, they might awaken too. The galaxy was about to realize that humans were not just survivors, but ancient ones with a history and power it had forgotten. The Raxan scouts slowly retreated to their ships. They would report what they had seen, and Miller knew the galaxy would react with fear and curiosity. But he did not worry. Humans had always been underestimated, and they had always found a way to rise. The artifact had chosen him to begin the awakening, and he would not fail. Miller walked back toward the dunes, the artifact glowing softly in his hands. He felt the weight of responsibility, but also the excitement of discovery. The story of humanity was not over. It was beginning again. The galaxy could not see it coming, but Miller knew it was unstoppable. As the suns set over the desert, casting long shadows across the crystals, Miller looked to the sky. The stars were countless, each one a reminder of how vast the galaxy was, and how much of it humans had once shaped. A new chapter of human history was about to begin, and he would be at the center of it. Miller returned to his small research base on Varys, the artifact secured carefully in a reinforced chamber. He knew the Raxan scouts would report what they had seen, and soon the galaxy would be paying attention to humans in a way it never had before. The weight of the artifact's power rested heavily in his hands, yet he felt excitement stronger than fear. Humans were not meant to be hidden forever. They were meant to rise. He sat before the glowing device, studying it. The artifact responded to his thoughts and emotions. When he concentrated on curiosity, small images of ancient human cities appeared in the air above it. When he focused on strategy, lights formed patterns, diagrams of fleets and technology humans had once commanded. It was more than a machine. It was a memory of a civilization, alive and aware, waiting for someone to awaken it. Miller realized he needed to learn its full potential. The visions had shown him glimpses, but not the complete truth. The artifact did not simply store knowledge. It connected him to the intelligence of the ancient humans who had built it. Every pulse, every vibration, seemed like a conversation across centuries. The more he interacted with it, the more he understood how humans had once ruled the stars, not through force, but through knowledge, creativity, and unity. He focused on one of the visions, a massive fleet of ships floating above a glowing planet. Each ship was sleek, shaped like living beings, yet capable of incredible power. He reached out, and the artifact responded, sending a wave of light that formed a miniature holographic model of the fleet in the air. Miller manipulated it with his hands, rearranging formations, understanding how humans had once coordinated their fleets with precision beyond the galaxy's comprehension. Hours passed, and Miller hardly noticed the sun dipping below the horizon. Suddenly, the artifact pulsed strongly. A signal was being sent, a silent beacon reaching across the galaxy. Miller knew it had reached other humans scattered among distant systems, those who had not yet forgotten the stories of their ancestors. Perhaps they were awake, listening, waiting for a sign. A sharp vibration shook the base. Miller tensed, sensing movement outside. He ran to the observation window. A fleet of Raxan warships hovered in the sky, larger and more intimidating than the scouts he had seen before. They had arrived not to negotiate, but to take the artifact by force. Miller's heart beat faster, but he did not panic. This was the first true test of humanity's hidden strength. He placed his hands on the artifact, focusing on control. Light spread across the room, filling it with a soft energy that hummed in harmony with his heartbeat. The ships outside paused, their sensors struggling to penetrate the barrier the artifact had created. Miller raised his voice, steady and calm. "You came expecting a weak human," he said, his words carried by the artifact's energy. "You will find none. We are not what the galaxy believes. Humans were once the architects of civilizations. We are still the same, waiting for the moment to rise." From the fleet, a Raxan commander communicated through a translation device. "Surrender the artifact. You cannot control it. Resistance is futile." Miller smiled slightly. Resistance was exactly what he intended. He lifted his hands, and the artifact's energy expanded outward, forming a dome around the base. Energy streams shot toward the sky, striking the Raxan ship's shields. Sparks and flashes lit the darkening desert. The aliens had never encountered such power from a human. Their weapons were neutralized, their sensors overwhelmed, yet no one was harmed. The commander hesitated. It became clear that Miller was not only defending himself but demonstrating a principle. Humans did not need to destroy to command respect. They used intelligence, strategy, and controlled power. The artifact pulsed again, sending patterns of ancient human codes into the Raxan ship's systems. Systems shut down one by one, leaving the ships floating but harmless. Miller stepped outside, the desert wind brushing against his face. The Raxan crew stared at him, unsure whether to attack or retreat. Miller raised the artifact high, its glow reflected in the eyes of the aliens, a symbol of humans' awakening potential. "This is not just one human. This is the legacy of the Ancient Ones," Miller said. "We will not hide. We will not surrender. The galaxy will learn who humans are, and it will not be what you expect." Slowly, the Raxan ships began to retreat. Miller knew this was only the beginning. Word of humanity's power would spread quickly. Other civilizations would come, some in fear, others in curiosity. Humanity's place in the galaxy was about to change forever. Miller turned back to the artifact. Its light had returned to a calm pulse, but he felt its power flowing through him. He was no longer just Miller, the human archaeologist. He was a guardian of humanity's hidden legacy, the first spark of a civilization reborn. As the stars appeared in the night sky above Varys, Miller realized the truth. Humans had been forgotten, but they were not gone. They had been waiting, patient and resilient until the right moment. That moment had arrived, and Miller was ready to lead the awakening. The news of Miller's defense against the Raxan fleet spread across nearby star systems faster than he had expected. Traders, explorers, and diplomats whispered tales of a single human who had stopped an entire fleet with nothing more than an ancient artifact. For most of the galaxy, this was impossible. Humans were not supposed to be powerful, not supposed to understand or wield technology older than the oldest empires. Miller knew that attention would come. He could feel it in the hum of the artifact, a vibration that seemed to echo across the stars. The device pulsed again, reaching out to others, calling them to witness what humans were capable of. He sensed curiosity, caution, and even fear from distant civilizations. Some would come to test him, others would come to learn. The galaxy's reaction was inevitable. A week later, a delegation arrived. Unlike the aggressive Raxan scouts, these visitors came in slow, elegant ships that hovered above the desert like floating gardens. Their markings were different, colors that shifted with their mood, showing intelligence and thoughtfulness. The delegates stepped onto the desert sands, their forms taller and leaner than humans, their movements graceful. Miller met them at the edge of the base. The artifact glowed softly at his side, ready but not threatening. The leader of the delegation raised its hand in greeting. "I am Alan of the Serene Collective," it said through a translator device. We have heard of your actions against the Raxan. Humans have always been underestimated, yet your people have survived. Tell us, Miller, what is your purpose? Miller held his gaze steady. Humans were once rulers of the galaxy, creators of civilizations. We were forgotten, hidden, and underestimated. I have awakened a part of our past, and I will ensure the galaxy sees the truth. Humans are not weak. We are strong, intelligent, and ready to reclaim our place. Alun studied him carefully. Its shifting colors slowed as it processed Miller's words. We have known legends of the ancient humans, it said finally. We believed them myth. If what you say is true, then the galaxy has been blind to a force it once feared and respected. Show us what you mean. Miller gestured to the artifact. Light spread from it in thin, precise beams, creating a holographic display above the desert. Entire star systems appeared in the air, showing the locations of human civilizations long forgotten. He manipulated the display, showing fleets of ships, floating cities, and strategic networks humans had once controlled. The serene delegation gasped, their eyes wide in wonder. You see, Miller continued, humans do not rely on brute force alone. Our strength lies in knowledge, strategy, and creativity. The galaxy has underestimated us for too long. We were never weak. We were waiting. Alan nodded slowly. You are not like the humans we imagined. Your words and actions carry the confidence of one who understands history and its power. We wish to observe and perhaps learn before others challenge you. Miller felt a sense of pride, but remained cautious. Observation is welcome, but humans will not be controlled or ignored. The galaxy must respect the truth of our legacy. Over the next days, the serene delegates studied the artifact and its energy. They asked questions, not with suspicion, but with awe. Miller demonstrated how it could show visions of ancient fleets and civilizations, and how humans had once coordinated across galaxies with intelligence that surpassed even the most advanced alien empires. Every answer strengthened their respect. Meanwhile, in the distance, scouts from other civilizations began to appear. Some were cautious, maintaining distance, while others watched silently from the edges of star systems. Miller knew that news of humans' awakening had reached far beyond Varys. Soon, every empire in the galaxy would be aware. Humans were no longer invisible. They had returned, and they carried the power of their ancestors. One evening, as the sun set over the desert, Alun spoke quietly to Miller. Your people have been underestimated for centuries. Many of the galaxy's rulers will try to challenge you, thinking you are alone. But I see now that humans have a legacy that commands respect. You must prepare for those who do not seek knowledge, only control. Miller nodded. He had already begun to understand that awakening humanity was not just about reclaiming the past. It was about protecting the future. The artifact was a guide, a bridge to the ancient knowledge. But humans themselves had to be clever, adaptable, and united. He could sense the challenge coming, and he was ready to meet it. As night fell, the stars sparkled above Varys like diamonds scattered across a black canvas. Miller stood at the edge of the desert, watching distant fleets moving quietly through space. Each light reminded him of the civilizations that would soon know the truth. Humans were no longer hidden, no longer underestimated. The awakening had begun, and the galaxy would soon learn that the ancient ones were not gone. They were alive, and they were human. Miller returned to the artifact, feeling its calm glow pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. He knew that every day brought new challenges, new tests, and new discoveries. The galaxy was watching, but humans were ready. The story of the ancient ones was unfolding, and Miller was determined that it would be a story of intelligence, courage, and strength. The deserts of Varys were quiet yet alive with energy. The artifact hummed softly, as if whispering encouragement. Miller closed his eyes, imagining the fleets of the ancient humans once more, and he knew the galaxy could not see it coming. Humans were awakening, and nothing would be the same. Miller had spent weeks studying the artifact and training with it, learning how to connect his mind to its energy. Every day he grew stronger, more confident, and more aware of the intelligence and strategy humans once commanded. The galaxy had begun to take notice, and Miller knew the real challenge was coming. Some civilizations would seek knowledge, while others would seek dominance. One morning, alarms rang across the desert base. Miller rushed to the observation platform and saw a fleet of ships approaching from the distant horizon. These ships were larger and more numerous than any he had seen before. Their markings were unfamiliar, dark and angular, signaling a coalition of alien empires who had joined forces to test the humans. They believed humans were still weak, but Miller knew they were wrong. He activated the artifact, feeling its energy spread across the base. The lights danced, creating holographic projections of ancient human strategies. He could see formations of ships, defense patterns, and fleet maneuvers that once protected entire star systems. The artifact whispered guidance, showing him how to use these long-forgotten tactics to defend against the incoming fleet. Miller moved quickly, giving instructions to the small human team stationed at the base. Position the defense drones here, activate the energy shields at these points, and keep our communication channels open. We are not just defending, we are showing the galaxy what humans can do. The alien fleet came closer, firing warning beams to test the base's defenses. The artifact pulsed strongly, sending waves of energy that disrupted the weapons without harming the ships. Miller smiled. The aliens were still thinking humans were fragile, but every action he took proved them wrong. He manipulated the artifact, further, sending a wave of energy into the sky that projected holograms of ancient human fleets. The alien commanders froze, observing the formations and maneuvers. They realized that the humans they had expected to be weak were now commanding tactics that even advanced civilizations had never seen. Humans do not rely on brute force, Miller said aloud. We use intelligence, strategy, and precision. You may have numbers, but we have knowledge and courage. The alien fleet hesitated. Miller could see confusion and fear ripple across their communication channels. They had expected resistance, but they did not expect this. The artifact allowed him to manipulate energy, to display strategies, and to protect the base, all without causing unnecessary harm. The humans were showing that their strength was more than weapons. It was creativity, problem-solving, and unity. Miller issued commands quickly, coordinating small defensive ships with the artifact's projections. Each move was calculated, every tactic anticipating the aliens' next step. The coalition fleet tried to break through, but the humans' precision and understanding of strategy kept them at bay. It was a battle of wits as much as skill, and humans were winning without firing a single destructive weapon. Hours passed, and the alien commanders realized that the humans were not ordinary. They attempted to retreat, but Miller used the artifact to guide their movements, showing the limits of their approach. He did not trap them, but he forced them to acknowledge that humans were capable of much more than the galaxy had imagined. Finally, the fleet began to withdraw. Miller lowered the artifact slightly, letting the energy settle. His team looked at him with awe, realizing that humans had just demonstrated an unprecedented level of power and intelligence. They had not destroyed their opponents, but they had shown dominance in a way that no one expected. Miller turned to the horizon where the alien ships disappeared into space. He knew that other civilizations were watching, observing every move. Humans were no longer underestimated. Every strategy, every decision, every action displayed the legacy of a people the galaxy had forgotten. Alan of the Serene Collective arrived to observe the aftermath. "Your people are remarkable," Alan said, its colors shifting in admiration. "You have shown the galaxy that humans are not only survivors, but masters of strategy and knowledge. Many will challenge you, but few will truly understand what they face." Miller nodded. "This is only the beginning. Humans have been underestimated for centuries. Now we are awake, and we will not be ignored. We do not need to destroy to be powerful. Our strength lies in understanding, unity, and courage." The artifact pulsed softly in response, as if agreeing with his words. Miller knew the galaxy would send more challenges, but he also knew humans were ready. They had survived, they had learned, and they had the intelligence and creativity to adapt to any threat. The story of humanity's awakening was spreading, and it was unstoppable. As night fell over Varys, the stars above seemed brighter than ever. Each distant light reminded Miller of the civilizations that would soon recognize humans' true power. The galaxy had doubted humans, but the doubts were ending. The Ancient Ones were no longer gone. They were awake, and they were leading the way toward a new era of human influence. Miller returned to the artifact, placing his hands upon it once more. He could feel the potential of humanity flowing through him. Humans were no longer hidden, no longer underestimated, and no longer passive. The awakening was complete in this first victory, and the galaxy would have to adjust to the reality of human intelligence, courage, and innovation. Miller stood on the high platform of his base, watching the horizon. This time, the approaching fleet was unlike any he had faced before. Ships from multiple alien empires moved in perfect coordination, forming a massive coalition that stretched across the sky. They had come together to test humanity, believing they could overwhelm a single human and a small base. Miller knew they were underestimating humans once again, but this challenge would require every bit of strategy, knowledge, and courage he possessed. He placed his hands on the artifact, feeling its energy surge in response to the incoming threat. The device pulsed like a heartbeat, filling the air with warmth and light. Miller closed his eyes for a moment, connecting to the knowledge of the ancient humans. He could see their strategies, their formations, and the ways they had commanded fleets across entire galaxies. This was not a weapon to destroy. It was a guide, a bridge to the intelligence humans had once wielded. Miller's team prepared alongside him. They had learned to trust his instincts and the artifact's guidance. Drones and defensive systems activated, creating a network of protection around the base. Miller projected holographic images of ancient fleets above the desert, demonstrating the tactics humans had used to control the stars. Every move was precise, calculated to anticipate the aliens' actions. The Coalition fleet fired first, unleashing a barrage of energy beams across the desert sky. Miller raised his hands, and the artifact responded. Waves of energy absorbed and redirected the attacks, neutralizing the threat without harming the ships. The aliens were stunned. They had expected humans to be fragile, vulnerable, and easy to overpower. Instead, they faced a display of intelligence, coordination, and control that no one had predicted. Miller moved quickly, adjusting formations and guiding defensive drones. Each action was a demonstration of human ingenuity. The artifact allowed him to simulate movements and communicate strategies instantly across his small team. They moved like a single organism, responding to threats before they fully materialized. The Coalition fleet attempted to adjust, but every tactic they tried was countered, every maneuver anticipated. Hours passed as the battle unfolded. Miller did not fight with anger or aggression. He fought with knowledge, precision, and strategy. He forced the Coalition to realize that humans were not simple creatures. Humans were thinkers, planners, and innovators. Every move displayed the brilliance of a civilization the galaxy had once forgotten. From one of the Coalition ships, a commander projected a message. "Surrender the artifact. Humans cannot win against a force like this. Resistance is futile." Miller shook his head, keeping his hands steady on the artifact. "You see only a few humans," he said. "But you face the intelligence, creativity, and courage of our entire species. We were underestimated for centuries. That ends today." The artifact pulsed with energy, and the holographic fleets in the sky shifted to show new strategies. Miller guided his team, demonstrating formations that the aliens had never encountered. The coalition ships found themselves trapped in patterns they could not break, unable to harm the humans who controlled the battlefield with precision. Finally, the coalition commander made a decision. They began to retreat, recognizing that humans were more than they expected. Miller allowed the artifact to settle, lowering its energy, signaling the end of the demonstration. No one had been destroyed, yet the aliens understood clearly that humans were a force to be respected. A loon of the Serene Collective arrived shortly afterward. Its shifting colors displayed admiration and amazement. "You have done more than defend your base," Alan said. "You have shown the galaxy that humans are not only capable, but extraordinary. The Coalition underestimated you, and now No, the Ancient Ones are not gone. They are human, awake, and formidable." Miller nodded, exhausted but proud. "Humans have always been underestimated," he said. "We survived when the galaxy forgot us. We learned, adapted, and preserved our knowledge. Now we are awake, and the galaxy will see that the Ancient Ones were never gone. They were waiting for the right moment." The stars over Varys sparkled in silence, each one a reminder of the vastness of the galaxy and the challenges that still lay ahead. Miller knew this was only one battle, one test of human ingenuity and courage. Many more would come. Other civilizations would observe, challenge, and perhaps even attack. But humanity had proven that it was not to be underestimated, and Miller felt a quiet confidence that humans would continue to rise. He returned to the artifact, feeling its steady pulse and warmth. It had guided him through the Coalition challenge, showing that humans could defend themselves without unnecessary destruction. The energy connected him to the ancient knowledge, reminding him that humans' greatest power was not just technology, but intelligence, strategy, and unity. Miller looked out over the desert, imagining the fleets of the ancient humans once more. He knew the galaxy would never again treat humans as weak or insignificant. The awakening was complete in this display, but the story of humanity was still unfolding. The galaxy could not see it coming, yet it would soon recognize that humans were the Ancient Ones, and they were back. With a final glance at the artifact, Miller felt determination fill him. Humans had survived, adapted, and now commanded attention and respect. The stars above Varys were not just points of light. They were opportunities, challenges, and reminders of a legacy that could no longer be ignored. Humanity was ready to reclaim its place, and Miller would ensure that the galaxy remembered the Ancient Ones, the humans who had shaped the stars. The galaxy had begun to change. Miller stood on the highest platform of his base on Varys, watching fleets of ships from distant civilizations move carefully through space. Every one of them now knew that humans were no longer weak, no longer overlooked, and no longer forgotten. The awakening of humanity was complete, and the galaxy was learning what it had ignored for centuries. Miller held the artifact in his hands, feeling its steady pulse. Its energy was no longer just a guide. It was a connection to the wisdom and strength of every human who had ever lived. He thought of the ancient cities, the fleets, and the civilizations that humans had built long ago. They had survived time, neglect, and erasure. Now, with the artifact's guidance and the courage of his people, humanity was ready to reclaim its place among the stars. News of Miller's victories and demonstrations spread quickly. Aliens who had once ignored or feared humans now sought alliances. Traders, explorers, and diplomats came to Varus, asking to understand humanity's strategies, technologies, and history. Miller welcomed them, but he remained cautious. Humans were awake, but the galaxy had yet to fully respect the consequences of underestimating them. A massive fleet from the Raxan Empire approached, larger than any Miller had faced before. They were not here to attack. They had come to witness the humans' strength to understand what they had ignored. Miller felt no fear. He had faced them before, and he had learned how to command energy, strategy, and intelligence without violence. He activated the artifact, letting its glow fill the base and the surrounding desert. Holograms of ancient human fleets, cities, and energy networks appeared in the sky. Every detail was precise, showing decades of experience, centuries of knowledge, and the brilliance of a species that had once ruled galaxies. The Raxan ships paused, their commanders stunned. Humans were no longer a curiosity. They were a force the galaxy had to respect. Miller spoke to the approaching fleets. Humans have been forgotten, underestimated, and ignored. That is no longer possible. We are awake, and we are not weak. We are intelligent, courageous, and united. The galaxy must remember the Ancient Ones, and the Ancient Ones are human. The alien commanders lowered their weapons. There was no aggression, only understanding and acknowledgement. They could see that humans were not a threat to be destroyed recklessly, but a power to be respected. Miller had achieved what humans had never done before. They had reminded the galaxy that knowledge, strategy, and unity were stronger than fear. Miller turned to the teams at his base. They had trained, learned, and grown alongside him. They understood that humans' true strength was in intelligence and creativity. They had seen the artifact's power and witnessed the awakening. Humans were no longer passive survivors. They were leaders, innovators, and guardians of a legacy the galaxy could not ignore. A loon of the Serene Collective arrived once more, its colors calm and steady. "The galaxy will not forget this day," Allen said. "Humans have shown that they are more than history. They are a living, intelligent, and powerful civilization. Your people have reclaimed their place." Miller nodded. He knew there were still challenges ahead, but humanity had taken the first step toward leadership, respect, and recognition. The artifact had awakened knowledge and strategy, but it was humans themselves, their courage, determination, and unity that would guide the future. As the stars shone above Varus, Miller looked beyond the horizon. Entire galaxies waited, full of civilizations that would learn to respect humans and their hidden legacy. The artifact pulsed softly, as if in approval, and Miller felt the energy of countless ancestors flowing through him. Humans had survived, and now they would thrive. He thought of the Ancient Ones, the humans who had once shaped the stars. They had created, guided, and led civilizations, leaving a legacy that had been nearly lost. Miller realized that humanity had not merely survived through time. They had grown stronger, smarter, and more resilient. The galaxy had forgotten them, but they had never truly disappeared. The desert of Varus was quiet under the twin suns now, fading into night, yet it felt alive with possibility. Miller knew that humans would continue to rise, not through fear, but through intelligence, courage, and unity. The galaxy could no longer see them as weak or simple. Humans were awake, and their story had begun anew. Miller lifted the artifact once more. Light spread outward, illuminating the desert, the base, and the horizon. The glow reached the stars themselves, a silent message to the galaxy. Humans were back. The Ancient Ones had returned. For centuries, humans had been underestimated. For centuries, they had waited, preserved, and endured. Now they were awake, and the galaxy would never forget them. Humanity had reclaimed its hidden legacy, and the story of the Ancient Ones would shine across the stars for generations to come. Miller stood tall, confident, and determined. The artifact pulsed gently, a heartbeat connecting the past, present, and future of humanity. The galaxy could no longer ignore them. Humans were intelligent, courageous, and ready to lead. The stars belonged to everyone, but the Ancient Ones had returned to remind the galaxy that humans had always shaped its history. And, with that, a new era began. Humans were awake, the Ancient Ones were remembered, and the galaxy could not see what was coming next.